Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with dignity, completely. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. Yes, it is I, your lovable host, Rod, coming to you live from my bunkerized home studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire. Yes, indeed, we are live here this Monday evening, January the 28th, in the year of our Lord 2013. Yes, broadcasting from the state that says, live free or die. However, it looks like, even in my own state here, the Granite State, where the state motto, the official state motto, which is even on our license plates, our car tags, is live free or die. It looks like, however, that there may be some people here in the state, great state of New Hampshire, that would just rather have you die. I kid you not, this came in late today, folks. State's gun violence solution. New Hampshire. New Hampshire is, and this is from WND. Now, this isn't really being brought up here in New Hampshire too much with the lamestream media. At least I haven't seen anything about it, and there hasn't been a lot of, well, of course, they got to keep things silent. Liberals have to keep things silent in order to get them passed. But New Hampshire's leading efforts to eliminate right of self-defense. That's right. A lawmaker here in my great state of live free or die in New Hampshire is proposing a bill that would severely curb the right of self-defense once people leave their homes, so critics say. And so critics say? That's it? Just critics? How about regular everyday people? I mean, we're the ones that have to live with this nonsense. House Bill 135, sponsored by State Rep. Stephen, I don't know his name. I just can't pronounce it. Even here. Well, let me see if we can get this. By Stephen Shurtleff, Shurtleff. Steve, now, for those of you who voted for the jackass, you know who you are out here in New Hampshire. But he's not the only one. These people are all over the country. These liberal nut jobs are all over the country. They're infiltrating everywhere. Now, House Bill 135, sponsored by State Representative Stephen Shurtleff, makes New Hampshire one of 7 states debating stand your ground laws, which gives citizens the right to use deadly force without retreating first, if they reasonably believe they face an unlawful retreat. Now, New Hampshire statute RSA 627-4 now reads, a person is not justified in using deadly force on another to defend him or herself or a third person from deadly force by the other if he or she knows that he or she and the third person can, with complete safety, retreat. The bill proposed by Shurtleff would remove the phrase "or anywhere" and he or she has the right to be. It also removes the provision that the act of producing or displaying a weapon shall constitute non-deadly force. If the bill passes, simply producing a weapon will constitute deadly force. Now, former New Hampshire State Senator Jim Luther says if the bill passes, the consequences will be simple. People will have to run away. It will repeal the ability of an individual to defend himself from deadly force in a public setting where they have a right to be. Their only alternative is to run from the attacker and hope the attacker doesn't shoot him in the back. He added bluntly, the bill could pass here in New Hampshire. It could pass. And I'm sure that our new nutjob liberal Democratic female governor would sign it. I have no doubt. Now, the Dems they're just huge on it's stupid gun control that they're after. It's not any kind of gun control that's actually going to work, because if they were actually about trying to do stuff that actually worked, then they would be enforcing the myriad of gun laws on the local and federal books as it is. Plain and simple. I mean, there is no reason. Look, yeah, let me be blunt, and I know there are going to be people out there that aren't going to like to hear this. Let me tell you something. It was awful. Well, a week and a half, 2 weeks before Christmas, it was awful. In Newtown, Connecticut, it was awful. I cried. 20 lives. They hadn't even begun yet. They were, 4, 5, and 6 years old. Hadn't even begun. 20 of them were over. Gone. Senseless. But let me tell you something. And I don't want people to take this the wrong way. I really don't. And know that I don't mean that anybody, any innocence, deserves such a fate. They don't. But you know what? It was inevitable. It was going to happen anyway. Why? Because we have stupid laws in the books. We have a gun-free zone. Those kids were unprotected. Wherever our children are unprotected, they're open, and basically we're acting as if they're meant to die. We have nobody around to protect them. Well, we have teachers. Let me tell you something. A teacher can only shield a kid once. Once the teacher is shot and dead and out of the way, what are they going to do? You know, I hear all this nonsense. Oh, the teachers were heroes. They shielded the kids. They can only shield them once. I'm not saying they weren't brave, but it's just sheer stupidity. What they should have done is tried to rush the attacker. That might have done more good and saved more lives, but would have saved more lives is the fact that somebody in the school should have had a gun. A good guy should have had a gun. And this notion that taking people's rights away to defend themselves and taking guns away from law-abiding citizens only means that you and I are going to be vulnerable to attack, and we're more likely to get killed. Believe it or not, folks, those are the national facts. Those are the international facts. The reason why our government wants to get rid of guns is, one, because you become more dependent on government, and two, in case they ever want to do anything, which they do, you will not be able to put up a fight. Now, I'm sorry. A citizen that can't defend themselves against their own government is not a citizen. They are a subject. Ask the Syrians. Ask the Soviet Union. Ask the Chinese. I can tell you one thing. If you go to Switzerland, man, you better believe that the Swiss government isn't going to be able to try anything fancy or schmancy and try to take over the country in Switzerland, because all males, under the age of 40, they got to have a gun. They all got guns. It's a nation of guns. And yet, you don't hardly ever, I mean, whenever there's a gun violence in Switzerland, you hear it. What, once? Well, they tried to make a huge deal out of it. It's a domestic dispute. That's all it was. But here's a nation where every male under the age of 40, I do believe, might be 50, has to maintain a weapon, a gun. Now, I don't know. Maybe we ought to have states that require individuals to have guns. All law-abiding legal citizens should be required to have a gun. Now, I, for one, don't want to see that kind of a law. I really wouldn't have a problem with that kind of a law, but I don't want to see that kind of a law because you have a right to decide for yourself whether you're going to have a firearm or not. Just as I have a right to decide whether I want to own a firearm or not. But if this were and understand, I know a lot of people, they come up with this notion, oh, it's just going to be the Wild West all over again. Well, you know, when you actually look at history that isn't produced by Hollywood, you find that the Wild West really wasn't all that wild. You didn't have people running around on their horses just shooting up towns and all that kind of stuff. The Wild West really wasn't all that wild. It was pretty mild and mellow. Why? Because everybody had a gun. Everybody knew that everybody had a gun. You probably saw those guns. Even some of the women you knew were carrying guns. So if you were a criminal, you didn't... Look, I know that we have the wild stories of, some of them are true about the fast draws and that kind of stuff, but that didn't happen every day. It didn't happen every day. You know, the gun battle, the shootout at the OK Corral, that didn't happen every day. But let me tell you something. You better believe that people were happy that the Earp brothers had guns. And Doc Holliday. But shootouts didn't happen every day. Why? Because everybody had a gun. So what people need to understand and need to do is they just need to get themselves a gun and not be, I listen to people, well, you shouldn't be able to have one. Well, what happens if a criminal comes into your house? I hear this all the time. What happens if a criminal comes into your house? What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to protect my family. How? They've got a gun and you don't. Well, we'll hide. Oh, you mean like that one woman who was trying to hide with her and her two kids, and the criminal found them. She hid first. He found them intending to do them harm, and she shot him. Hell, if you come into my house, I'm not going to run away. Why should I run and hide in my own home? When you're not invited, you break through a window or break down my door, you bust your way into my home. I'm not expecting you. I don't want you here. I didn't allow you to come in. I didn't give you any permission to come in. I didn't even give you permission to be on my property, let alone come into my home. And you're going to tell me, as a liberal nut job, that I have to run and hide myself and hope he doesn't find me. Now, let me ask you something. What if they're not wanting to find me? What if they just start shooting? You know, they see closed closet doors. Well, there might be somebody hiding there. Let's just shoot it up. Why do I have to run away from somebody who's illegally entering my premises, my domicile, my safety zone? Why do I have to run away? If I am out on the street in a legal area where I can legally be, and I'm not inviting anybody to come and accost me or do anything illegal to me, why do I have to run away? Why does the law-abiding citizen have to have the burden? Why isn't it that I can protect myself and other innocent people? Why must we run away? Why must we turn our back on dangerous people in order to get away? You can't backpedal because they'll catch you if they're running at you. And if you turn your back on them, well, you can no longer see them. What if they have a gun and start shooting? You get shot in the back or the back of the head. Why is it I have to run away? I'm not the one breaking the law. Why is it that those of us who are not breaking the law, those of us who are legally being someplace, those of us who are law-abiding, why must we be in fear? Shouldn't it be the criminal that's in fear? They're the one breaking the law. They're the one doing things against society that they should not be doing. Why is it the law-abiding citizen? Is always the one that has to be scared? I mean, it makes no sense. Run away! Run away! No, hell no! I don't care what kind of freaking law the state wants to pass. God says I have the right to defend myself. God says I have the right to life and liberty. And I'm damn well going to stand up for it. And if some stupid jackass congressman wants to come after me, then I'll make him pay too. Because they don't have a right to take away my God-given rights to life. Especially when I'm being a law-abiding citizen. And that goes for the rest of you out there. And it's absolutely ridiculous. If somebody's threatening me or the innocent, okay, fine. Now you got a bunch of kids running around in a school. Attacker comes in. Start shooting up the place. You're not allowed to stand and defend those children? Oh, no, you've got to try to help them run away? What kind of idiot would do that? We can see where that gets you in Newton, Connecticut. Running away is going to get you dead. Plain and simple. Who are these people that think that they can take away our rights? Why do you nut jobs elect them? Taking away your basic human rights means you end up dead. Plain and simple. I mean, those poor kids didn't have a chance. Why? Because they have a bunch of jackasses for administrators, for Congress people in their state, and for parents that allow that kind of crap to happen. I've told you people, you should not send your kids to public school. Now, look, you don't send your kid to school and expect them to get killed at school. I fully understand that. But you have to understand something where you're sending them. You're sending them to a liberal indoctrination center. And if you're willing to do that, then you best be ready to take the consequences. And I know some people are going to say, oh, my God, Rod, just blame the parents. You better believe I'm putting some of the blame on those parents. You better damn well believe it. Because some of those parents voted for the idiots that make the laws that made their kids unsafe. And some of those parents just willingly sent their kids off to these public schools knowing that they're not safe. So don't tell me they should get away scot-free with blame. Because you know something? I don't know. It's not for me to judge, but I'm sure God's going to hold them responsible when the time comes. You're responsible for your child, not the state. Understand that. You're responsible for everything of that child. Their education, their rearing, their safety. You don't get to abdicate that responsibility when you shuffle them off to a public school system. Nuh-uh, that's still your responsibility to ensure that your child is safe. And how do you do that? By making sure their school is safe. And how do you do that? Making sure you don't have a bunch of liberal, idiotic nut jobs running around trying to, the only thing they're concerned about is improving your kids' self-esteem. Trust me, your kids got plenty of self-esteem. And we can see with all the kids that are running around now, and when they get to high school, they're so removed from society, they're loners and all this kind of, so much for self-esteem in kindergarten, when this high school senior is so ostracized that now he feels he's got to bring a gun to school and start shooting people up. Yeah, so much for liberal self-esteem. But folks, you have a right to defend yourself. And that right cannot be superseded by some other man or woman, simply because they don't like the fact that you have a gun. It's not their business. And frankly, there are laws that hey, if they go against the laws of God, you can ignore those laws. Man's laws do not supersede God's laws. Or if you want to say, Gaia, is that the name of the Mother Earth? Mother Nature's laws supersedes man's laws. Well, no, they don't. You want to make a bet? Can man stop Mother Nature from doing anything that she damn well pleases? Can man stop God from doing anything that he wants? No. His law supersedes man's law. The natural law of God or Mother Nature says that you have a natural instinct and desire and right to live and to do so safely. And if somebody wants to threaten that, you have by rights from God or Gaia, the natural law, to stand and protect yourself and your property, regardless of what man's law says. Now, I'm just saying. The only people that are gonna turn and run are the people that are gonna end up dead. You know, there was a home invasion a few years ago in a small town called Mount Vernon. A mother was killed, a daughter was nearly killed, and it was three teenage boys breaking it. Now, let me tell. Now, this family, I'm gonna go there. The parents were a little bit liberal. They didn't believe in violence and having firearms. Let me tell you something. If that mother had a gun, yeah, there might be 1, 2, or 3 dead teenage boys, but that mother would still be alive, and that daughter would not have been nearly killed and traumatized. If you do something that you're not supposed to, there is no sympathy for you from me. You're going to break into somebody's house with the intent to harm, maim, and or kill. No sympathy at all. You don't belong there. You weren't invited there. Thereby, you've now just given up your right to safety because you've endangered everyone. I'm sorry. I'm going to stand my ground. And you should, this is the whole thing. Look, folks, it's coming down to that. It really is. And it's sad to say in our own country, it is coming, in the United States of America, the country that was built and birthed by the gun, in this country, that people die for freedom, the ultimate free nation, free society, we are voting it away. And it's sad. We're just giving it away. And nobody on the outside has to take us over. We're giving it away. And we're making excuses for it. And we're trying to dress it up in some sort of pretty package. Because Obama is taking our freedom away. It's okay because he's our first black president. So it's okay. He can stomp on and try to supersede the Constitution, but it's okay because, you liberals were all up in arms when George W. Bush tried to do something like that called the Patriot Act. I mean, my God, you thought the world was coming to an end. And then Obama does the same thing, and he strengthens it and expands the Patriot Act, and there's not a peep from you. You think, but it's okay because he's the first black president, he's the smartest president we've had since George Washington. Oh, man, there's nobody better. He's a god on earth. And we're bowing down to Barack Hussein Obama. Why? Because of his skin color. And we're just giving our rights away, left and right. And the left becomes more emboldened. Oh, see, the people they're accepting Obamacare. Okay, so now we can go in there and take more of their rights. Oh, yeah, Obama, man, he's got all these czars. Man, they're unconstitutional, but hey, nobody's is standing up against him on it. Oh, no, so let's, let's have more of these czars. And hey, I got all these czars, and I got away with it. I got Obamacare passed. I got away with it. Why don't I just start doing all these executive orders? Yeah, that'll crush the Constitution, too. I'll just stomp, stamp, rip, tear, shred, and just issue executive order after executive order. Oh, you Congress, you won't do anything about guns. I'm just going to issue an executive order and get rid of them myself. I don't need Congress. Let's get rid of the Constitution. Now we have a TV network that says it's time to abolish the Constitution. Where are you people? Where are the constitutionalists? Where are the free staters? Where are the Americans? Because we've got a bunch of usurpers who are trying to take away every facet of our country. And they're winning. They're winning. They don't have to explain jack. I don't know how many times I've asked people just to explain simply why you believe what you believe when it comes to liberalism. Why do you think you have the right to take somebody else's hard-earned money? What government agency do you think works better than private agencies doing the exact same thing? There is no answer from these people. Because they don't care. Because they believe they're going to get something for nothing, not realizing, even though I don't care how many times you tell them, they don't realize, they still don't realize, even after you point it out and show them in writing, for some reason they can't get it through their thick skulls that nothing is free, that they're paying for everything, and they're paying 2 to 3, 4, 5 times more than if they were to do it on their own in the private sector. No, they don't get it. They call me a liar. I show them the numbers from the Obama administration. Rod, you've got it wrong. Tim Geithner says I got it right. What part do you not understand? Oh, you just don't understand, Rod. You're just a hater. Really, what am I hating? Obviously, I can't be hating on the man because he's black because I'm black. Oh, no, you're a self-hater, Rod. You can't stand your own self. Oh, really? I'm very proud of who I am. And that includes being a constitutionalist and understanding that the greatest thing that this country has is the Constitution. Remember, folks, It's called the Bill of Rights because you have rights. It's not called the Bill of Suggestions.
Rumors spreading round United Texas town about the shack outside the game. You know what I'm talking about. Just let me know if you wanna go to that home out on the range. They got a lot of nice girls. I'm racing.
Today is a special day. Today we gather as a nation and as an international community to recognize the selfless decision of one of the most influential women of our time. She's been recognized by religious figures and politicians around the world. To us, she's just Rachel. But to the rest of the world, she is the woman who, after having one too many drinks, chose not to drive home buzzed. Here today to honor Rachel is the family whose lives she spared.
Save a life. Don't drive buzzed. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
I was in chronic pain, and my family struggling to make ends meet, food and gas prices going up, even keeping my job was iffy. Then I learned about a new miracle drug made in Washington, D.C., Spenditol. Spenditol is Washington's answer to all the painful problems Americans face. How to borrow $800 billion for a stimulus that didn't create jobs or fix the economy? Spenditol.
Spenditol is not for everyone. Side effects may include a mountain of government debt piled on our kids, a sudden loss of freedoms, higher prices for everything, leaving our kids a lesser America than we had. Ask your doctor or congressman if your conscience is strong enough for Spenditol.
And it's so popular in Washington, we have to import trillions more of it from China. Spenditol makes you feel better now and pushes off the really bad stuff till later, for them to deal with.
Call the White House and Congress. Tell them, stop spending it all.
You're listening to The Rod Eccles Show.
Yes, indeed, folks. I am your lovable host, L. Rod. I'm a black man on the edge. I've got a constitution, and I'm not afraid to use it. Hello, this is The Rod Eccles Show, and I am your lovable host, L. Rod. I am live this evening, back from, I posted something about a black family back in the day, before civil rights. We're talking 30s and 40s here. They started and built a business. Today, it is a multi-million-dollar business. They were rich back then. They obviously didn't get government help. They obviously didn't get local help. There was no such thing as crowdsourcing back then. They had to do it on their own. And I put the post forward because it's Black history, and you have all these people, probably, blacks using their products. For black hair and skin care and all that kind of. And I asked him, I says, well, what makes you different from these folks who did something with themselves without any government assistance back then? Why do you think you can't do anything today? Not a peep. Nothing. I mean, that really just infuriates me. That they'll be standing out there with their hands out, thinking that they are owed reparations for something. God knows what, because even their today's people, blacks, even their great grandparents weren't slaves. So you got to go back a few generations. I mean, this is just getting ridiculous. The farther and farther that we get away from the Civil War, the more and more dependent we get on our government again. It's a new form of slavery. And then you try telling these people this. And look, do you think Beyonce really gives a rat's ass about you? You think Jay-Z really cares? How about P. Diddy? I mean, if they really cared, they'd be spending, a good amount of their money and time in the ghetto. They wouldn't be charging you $100 for a hoodie, a sweatshirt. Michael Jordan, I'm sorry, I love Michael Jordan, great basketball player, but if he really cared, would he charge you $220 for a pair of his sneakers? I mean, let's get real here, folks. I think kids were being mugged and killed for clothing and sneakers not too long ago. I mean, this is this whole notion that it's the white man's fault and it's government's fault. Hell, we're killing ourselves. And then we go ahead and we elect people like Nancy Pelosi, like Barbara Boxer, like Joe Biden, like Harry Reid, like Barack Obama. They elect these kinds of people who then turn around and turn our public school systems into nothing but death traps and idiot machines that produce stupid kids if they get to the end, because most of them drop out anyway. So they can't even read at the 6th grade level, let alone the 8th grade level. They couldn't get into college if their life depended on it. So now they're roaming the streets, getting illegal guns, shooting everybody up because they trying to get theirs. I'm going to get mines. Get your what? What is yours? Nothing. You didn't earn it. But we keep electing those people, and we run around saying, I'm going to get me an Obama phone. I'm up here trying to get some of that Obama cash. Well, where is Obama getting the cash? I don't know. I don't care. It's from his stash, I guess. Don't get me wrong, you got a lot of white people thinking the same thing now. We call them dirtbags. Senators reach an agreement on immigration reform. This is what I'm talking about. You know what? You're an American citizen, and you just got sold down the river. Understand this. There is no reform to immigration. We don't need any reform. You know what we need to do? We need to close our borders and enforce the law. Oh, well, Obama, man, he's deported more illegals than any other president in recent history. Well, who the hell cares? Because he's letting most of them stay anyway. You spent all this money for what? I'm not going to separate parents and children. Oh, the kids can be 30 years old, but they're not going to take, the kids are legal American citizens because they were born here. Well, that's got to stop, too. A bipartisan group of leading senators has reached agreement on the principles for a sweeping overhaul of the nation's immigration laws, including a path to citizenship for the 11 million immigrants already in this country. We did that back in the 80s with 3 million of them. And now we got 11. Looks like they're multiplying. They're freaking rabbits. Or worse yet, they're rats. Yeah, I call them like rats. Because they're eating at the very foundation of our society. Because they're breaking our laws. Now, you reverse it. You go down to Mexico illegally and get caught. And you can call and yell out, you're an American all you want to, man. You're going to prison if you survive. And we want to coddle these people. And not only do we want to coddle them, but we also want to give them licenses. Fraud concerns linger over new Illinois state license law. Illinois becomes the 4th and most populous state to give illegal immigrants permission to drive. You know what? I think, we've had this, conservatives, we've had this all wrong. Yeah, let's give illegal immigrants a license. They're going to have to come in to the DMV. We're going to demand at the DMV, you got to have a birth certificate. Okay, do you have a green card? No. Okay, well, we're going to give you a license. We need your address so we can mail it to you. You don't get it there. You don't get the license there. It's got to be mailed to you. And then instead of it being mailed, immigration authorities show up, catch them, and deport them. Well, you still get, maybe we'll give them the license. We can use it as a means of catching them. Yeah, it'll work only for a short period of time, and then they'll run in hiding. But we'll always know. We'll always know. Keep tabs on them. Go ahead. I mean, the first strike. Give them the license. Don't give it to them at the DMV. Tell them it has to be mailed to them. They've got to get an address. Well, we catch them and deport them. And you know what? This whole notion about, well, we don't want to separate and break up families. I'm not the one that broke the law. And they know they broke the law. You know, it's one thing if you're floating around and flitting around on the border and you don't realize you cross over. But no, these people know that they're breaking the law because they sneak. They don't try to get through at the gate, at the border crossing. No. They try everything that they possibly can to go over the fence, under the fence, around the fence. They'll swim the moat. They'll swim the ocean. They'll try any, in the dead of night, dark of night, no moon, when it's pitch black, they are trying to cross that, that border. They know they're breaking the law. So I have no sympathy for busting up a family. And this whole notion that we're giving these, you know what? That law needs to change too. If you are illegal and you give birth here, your child does not become a U.S. citizen. I mean, are we the only country in the world that allows this kind of nonsense to happen? Yeah. No, you try going to like France or someplace illegally, dropping a kid and say, well, now my kid's a French citizen. They'll look at you like you crazy. Because they'll even tell you, yo, you must think I'm crazy. Your child ain't no citizen here. You illegal. In fact, we're going to arrest your butt, and then we're going to deport you. And yeah, your little baby going with you. And don't come back, you hear? No, we're the only nation that says, well, yeah, wow. Oh, because it's humanitarian, Rod. It's just humanitarian. We have to be humanitarians. What about the American kid that's born here to legal parents? What about being humanitarian to them? We're destroying their opportunity. There are only 11 million of them, Rod. Yeah, there was only 3 million back in the 80s, and we were told, oh, yeah, this reform is gonna cure our immigration ills. We're not going to have any more problems. Now it's 11 million. And what happens in another generation? We're going to have 20 million? The only reason why it's not 20 million now is because they self-deported themselves because our economy is so bad. I guess you can thank the Democrats for that. You know, they got rid of almost half the illegals all on their own because our economy is so bad and there's no opportunity for them here. Now you turn around this economy and see what happens. You'll have 20 million illegals after you legalize this 11 million. You'll have 20 million new illegals in a heartbeat, and your head will be swimming. I thought we had immigration reform. And you people are buying this? Not to mention, yeah, it's going to be, well, Rod, they're gonna crack down on the border. Really? I beg to differ. Here's a story here. Obama closing air defense system on U.S.-Mexico border. Texas and America vulnerable to attack from low-altitude missiles and aircraft. Yes. On January 17th, 2013, Excelis System Corporation sent out an email to all of its employees informing them that on March 15, 2013, all TARS air defense, TARS air defense mission operations will permanently cease. These TARS air defense sites were under the control of the United States Air Force. On January 15, 2013, the Air Force informed Excelis, a defense contractor running the TARS sites, that the TARS sites will be shut down. Excelis tried to then negotiate with the Department of Homeland Security to see if they would take over the vital project. But it seems as though those negotiations have failed as well. What does this mean? This means the southern border of the United States of America will be more vulnerable to attack from low-flying aircraft, low-altitude missiles, and other infiltrations such as drug smuggling. So, do you think after we get this immigration reform that Obama is going to enforce the law? He's leaving our borders wide open, folks. And I'm tired of people saying, well, Rod, you're just a bigot. You don't like Mexicans. No, I got Mexican friends. Let me tell you something. I have got Latino friends, close ones, close friends, who immigrated here to this country legally. Let me tell you something. They waited their turn. They had to pay whatever they had to pay to get here. They understood it, and they are pissed as hell that these people are getting a free ride on their dime. Understand, most legal immigrating Latinos do not like the illegals. They don't. Especially when they're coming from South America and anything south of Mexico, man, they're pissed about this. You ask a Brazilian and Venezuelan, man, they'll tell, what do you mean that they get to stay? They're not all for that, and I know that's what we hear. Let me tell you something. Half the Latinos that are arguing that maybe the Mexicans should be able to stay are Puerto Rican, and they have. Why would they even? They don't care. They're already citizens. Just saying. Yeah, I've got some Puerto Rican friends too. Love them all to death. But let me tell you, most of my Latino friends are against illegal immigration, and they are against these illegals getting any kind of amnesty on track for citizenship. Think about it. They have I just spoke with a guy today on the phone. We were discussing certain issues about business and stuff, and he goes, well, I only have a green card. I said, so you're here legally? He goes, yeah, but in order for me to do certain governmental security things, get a security clearance, I got to be a citizen. I said, well, just go for your citizenship. He goes, I'm trying, but I got to wait till October when I have fulfilled my legal obligation. This guy's he's doing it the right way, legally. I said, well, you got to wait. He says, you haven't been here long enough? No, it's the immigration laws. I've got to go through the citizenship requirements. I'm not here long enough yet. So I asked him, I said, well, what do you think about the illegals being fast-tracked? He said, it's not right, and it's unfair, and they should all be deported. Now, here's a man who waited to get a green card, came to the United States to get a job, got a job, doesn't depend on the government for anything, trying to become a U.S. citizen, but he's following the law. So there are time requirements. He's following the law. And now we just want to give these people who broke the law fast track to citizenship. Yeah, he's pissed. He says, I just should have probably just came over with the rest of them then. It would have been easier. Just saying, folks. They're not doing you any favors. Boy Scouts may end ban on gay youth leaders. The Boy Scouts of America is expected to lift its long-standing ban on gay scouts and troop leaders. The reversal of the decades-old policy is expected to be approved by the organization's national board next week. Both USA Today and nobody has any guts or chutzpah to stand up for what they believe anymore. Nobody. Look, let me tell you something. The Boy Scouts are going to approve gay leaders, and the first boy that is diddled by another troop leader, whether that troop leader be gay or not, if he's diddling a boy, he's obviously gay. They are going to sue the you-know-what out of the Boy Scouts, and they will cease to exist. Guarantee you. But the Boy Scout leadership is now they're bowing and kowtowing to the pressure. Oh my goodness, we got to get back. Stand your freaking ground. If you have certain beliefs that are based on legitimate religious principles, then stand your ground. If you don't want your boys to be exposed to an alternative lifestyle, stand your ground. You know what, folks? I hate to say, kids, parents that have your kids in Boy Scouts, pull them out. Do something called Royal Rangers. Those are really Christian Boy Scouts. Do something called Royal Rangers. I think it's is it a Pentecostal organization or group? But anyway, you can start your own chapter if you don't have one in your church or neighborhood. Royal Rangers, just like the Boy Scouts, but better. This is disappointing. Yeah, I was a Boy Scout, Cub Scout, Weeplo, Boy Scout. I did all that stuff. I'm disappointed in them. Yeah, stand your ground. Don't give into. Look, well, Rod, there are people that were against black. No, I don't know how many times I get it. There's a difference, especially when it comes to the safety of your kids, because there's no way to weed out these anybody. I mean, it's bad enough when you got Catholic priests when they had their scandal with all of this. I mean, that's bad. And now you're going to openly allow it. You know they're going to get sued. You know the Boy Scouts are going to get sued. They're going to get sued heavy. They're going to get sued hard. And are the gays going to back them then? No, of course not. Finally, this evening, Donald Trump gets turned down for requests for a tax break. It seems that Washington, D.C. Is able to charge lessees of federal property who are renting federal property for their own private use. It seems that the city of D.C. is able to, or District of Columbia is able to charge them property tax on that. Maybe we'll get more into that tomorrow, but for now, I'm out of time. We'll be back here tomorrow, 8 p.m., all week. Sorry about that, folks, but we do have to cut back a little bit, and I'll explain a little bit more of that tomorrow about what I'm doing and why. Only an hour for the rest of the week. It's good news, though. It's not bad. Just there isn't enough hours in the day, and yeah, I do have to sleep some of them. So until then, folks, I will be back here tomorrow, 8 p.m. Tell your friends, tell your mother, tell your brother, tell your lover, tell your hater, tell your liberal neighbor. Just be here.
Well, goodbye. And don't think it hasn't been a little slice of heaven, because it hasn't.
I'm Rod Eccles. This has been the Rod Eccles Show. I'm out.